current news podcast.
With Elu and Jesse.
Yes.
Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive? We're talking Jennifer Lawrence and her recent political statements.
This is interesting, right? Because she's usually pretty private.
Yeah, so what's got her talking now? Let's dig in.
Well, this is a big election year, and some issues are really heating up. Abortion rights, for example. It's getting pretty divisive.
Yeah, and she's definitely not holding back on her opinions either.
No, not at all.
In that People magazine interview, she just puts it right out there.
Doesn't she?
She says abortion is literally on the ballot.
Straight to the point. It's a reality for her, you know? She's been very vocal about supporting Kamala Harris and Harris's stance on reproductive rights. Well, let's just say they see eye to eye.
And it's more than just agreement, right? It's like this deep thing for her. She says, I can't hef with people who aren't political anymore. That really got to me, you know? Like that raw emotion in that statement, it's way beyond casual opinions at this point.
No kidding.
Yeah.
She also said that the state of the country is too dire, that politics are killing people. I mean,
Whoa.
yeah, that one stopped me in my tracks, too.
It's easy to think of politics as just this abstract thing.
Right.
But she's drawing a direct line to real-world consequences.
It makes you think, how does all this political talk, especially around a charged topic like abortion, actually translate to real harm? And it goes beyond just laws. It's about the chilling effect it has on healthcare, on women's lives.
And this is where I think her work as a producer gets really interesting. She's not just talking the talk, she's walking the walk.
Exactly.
Her company, Excellent Cadaver, is working on these documentaries about women's rights.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about these. And there are two in particular that caught my eye.
Okay, I'm interested.
Bread and Roses is one, and then there's ZurawskivTexas.
Okay, tell me more about Bread and Roses, because
Okay.
I have to know. What made her want to produce a film directed by an Afghan filmmaker and co-produced by Malala Yousafzai, of all people? That's a huge statement right there.
I mean, the Taliban is back in power in Afghanistan, and you see all these headlines about women's rights being restricted.
Yeah.
It's just...
And that's why this film is so important now, because it's going to give a voice to those people who are most impacted.
Right.
You know, Malala obviously is a huge advocate for women's education. But imagine the stories this film could tell about just the broader fight for women's rights in Afghanistan.
It makes you think about the courage it would take to speak out in that kind of environment, too.
Absolutely, when you're risking so much.
Absolutely.
And speaking of difficult situations, her other documentary, ZurawskivTexas,
Yes.
this one hits a little closer to home, right?
Yeah.
It's dealing with the legal battle over abortion access here in the U.S.
Right.
And it's about this case in Texas challenging those super restrictive abortion laws that they have there. For those of us who aren't legal experts, can you break down why this case is such a big deal?
Well, when Roe v. Wade was overturned last year, that kind of sent shockwaves through the legal system here in the U.S.
Totally.
Because what it did was it created this vacuum where states were suddenly able to enact their own laws.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them being very, very strict.
So states have more power to decide what happens with abortion rights.
Exactly. And so ZurawskivTexas is an example of one of those cases challenging those new laws.
Oh, I see.
And the outcome of this case could have ripple effects for other states.
Wow, so these women are really fighting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about what Lawrence said about how they're heroic for sharing their stories.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to believe in something.
Sure,
But
yeah.
to put yourself out there knowing what kind of backlash you might face, that takes guts.
And it goes back to that idea of the personal stakes.
Yeah.
These aren't just abstract legal arguments.
Right.
These are about real women with real lives facing these really difficult decisions.
And by sharing their stories, it forces us to look at how these laws are really affecting people.
Exactly.
Which is exactly what Lawrence is speaking out against.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about those women, it's kind of overwhelming, right? Like, even if you agree, to put yourself out there like that, that's a big deal.
It really is. And that's what makes her message at the end of the interview so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't just say, like, this is awful, and then, you know, leaves you with that feeling. She actually gives you something you can do.
Right, exactly. She's like, take action, go vote.
Yeah. It all comes back around to that connection she's making. You know, once you understand these issues, once you see the human impact, well, then your vote, it's not just some box you're checking off.
It's like she's saying, I've shared what I think. Now what are you going to do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not even about necessarily agreeing with her, right? But it's recognizing that when something feels personal, that's often what drives us to actually do something about it.
Yeah. It makes you think, what issue gets me fired up? Like, what would make me stand up and say something, even if it's uncomfortable?
That's the big takeaway here. This isn't just a celebrity with a platform. It's a reminder that we all have a voice.
It's true. I mean, maybe this wasn't your typical deep dive into pop culture or whatever.
Right.
But I feel like we got into something bigger here.
Oh, for sure.
Jennifer Lawrence is reminding us that we're all part of this, and sometimes staying silent just isn't an option.
Well said.
And on that note, we'll leave you with that thought. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep learning, and most importantly, keep the conversation going.
Turn the dial to the daily news. Turn the dial to the daily news. Turn the dial to the daily news. Bringing voices, headlines, and choose. You turn the dial to the daily news.